So like I said, this is the present workshop for curricular practical training. So the official definition of CPT, or curricular practical training, is defined to be an alternative work, study, internship, cooperative education, or any other type of required internship or practicum that is offered by sponsoring employees through cooperative agreements with the school. CPT is an integral part of an established curriculum. One thing that I do want to highlight with this definition is the last sentence. And one of the things that we use to decide on whether or not we can approve a student-specific CPT is whether or not we can consider it to be an integral part of the established curriculum for the student. So to go over the basic eligibility for students is, first, they would need to be a F1 student. They would need to be lawfully enrolled on a full-time basis for at least one full academic year. And to connect it with the fact that it has to be part of an established curriculum, the student must be enrolled in a designated internship or independent study course specifically designed for this CPT. This will be determined by the student's academic advisor in the curricular practical training application form, and they must have an internship offer required. And that will come in form of job offer letter that we will go over later as well. One thing that we often have students ask us is, how did I know that I need to apply for CPT? So what we have is this tier system, and we'll go over it one by one. The tier 1 is observation, shadowing. So if the objective of the internship is primarily just observation or shadowing of a professional in your field of study with little to no hands-on experience, CPT is not required. Tier 2 is shadowing, hands-on training. If the objective of the internship is the observation or shadowing of a professional in your field of study and up to 50% hands-on experience, CPT is strongly recommended and must be authorized in advance. And finally, tier 3, hands-on training. If the objective of the internship is primarily, over 50% or more, your hands-on training and experience and is a requirement for your major, CPT is required in advance. And while there is some flexibility with these tier systems, we recommend that in any situation that you discuss this with an immigration coordinator, either through email or an advising appointment on a case-by-case basis in advance. So when can CPT be authorized for students? So during the academic year, while school is in session, students may work up to 20 hours per week. Students may work full-time, 20 hours, beyond 20 hours under the following circumstances: during official breaks such as winter or spring break, or during the authorized summer vacation term, unless summer is your final term as a student. Now, CPT is approved on a per semester basis. So a student must submit a new CPT application each semester, even if it is for the same internship. And one thing that we do want to especially highlight is that if students may only begin training only after receiving authorization from our office. Well, keeping that last part in mind, students may begin to apply only one term prior to the beginning of the internship period. So since we're in the autumn semester now, you can start applying for CPT internships that start in the spring. And completed applications must be received by our office for review at least 5 business days prior to your CPT start date. I recommend once you have the job offer from the company to start working on the application so that you can submit it to our office as soon as possible. And again, students may begin training only after receiving authorization from OIA and are within the dates listed on page 2 of the CPT endorsed I-20. And it is of the utmost importance that you keep yourself informed so as not to do anything inadvertently violate your immigration status. So if there's any changes to your CPT, such as start dates or end dates, or something in regards to your CPT related course, please contact our office as soon as possible. So going over the application process, the student's role is to complete the CPT application form, including the faculty academic advisor recommendation. So this would be in 2 parts. First, your academic advisor would need to attest that your CPT is related to your major, and they need to specify 3 different academic objectives that would further your curriculum in regards to your CPT to your major. And the second part would be to designate the CPT related course that you're going to be enrolled for the semester that you are doing the CPT for. So those 2 things are integral to the part of our office being able to ascertain that the CPT is related to your major course of study. Next, we'll need a job offer letter printed on official business letterhead and containing the following details: the job title and the job description. The job description should be specific enough that we'll see your major duties in relation to your field of study, the exact dates of employment, so the start and end date, the number of hours of work per week, and the physical place of employment. If you are a post-candidacy doctoral student, there is an additional letter required. Your academic advisor would need to write a letter to confirm that the CPT must yield data that is necessary for you to complete your dissertation. And if you refer to the page 1 of the CPT application, there is more details regarding that. If the CPT isn't related to your field of study or for post-candidacy students is not necessary to complete the dissertation, CPT would not be approved in that student's case. And we recommend students to come talk to an immigration coordinator to discuss your options then. Next, you can either submit your application through email to iss@osu.edu or schedule an advising appointment. Currently, we're doing virtual advising appointments via Zoom, and we'll inform you of our decision within 5 business days. If approved, OIA will issue you a new CPT Form I-20 endorsed with the CPT authorization, including the exact dates, employer name, and location. So this is why it's very important, if there's any changes to those things, that you contact our office as soon as possible so that we can make a decision on whether or not we need to issue you a new I-20. Then OIA will verify your CPT course enrollment after the start date of your employment for the term that the CPT is authorized. And it is very important that you must remain enrolled in the CPT course for the entire semester. Lastly, if you have any questions or would like to go over your application with an immigration coordinator, we do have advising hours from Monday through Thursday, 1 to 4. It does say Fridays by appointment only, but currently due to our office still working remotely, those are all available by appointment via Zoom. And as always, you can send us an email or give us a call at that number. So now I'll stop sharing, but does anyone have any questions regarding what we went over?
Yes, I have a question. And by the way, when we ask questions, should we just type them or can we just speak through the speaker?
Either way is fine.
Okay, so may I then start?
Yes.
So the question regarding the basic requirements, and the question is the following. Does the previous degree level, is the previous degree level considered in that one full year that is required prior to being eligible for CPT? For example, if I start a PhD program and I want to do a CPT after my first semester, does my master's degree count towards that or does it not?
So I can take that. So your previous degree level will not count. You have to be enrolled full-time for 2 semesters at the current degree level. So whatever previous degrees you had or previous degree levels will not count towards your eligibility for CPT at a different level.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I have a question about like the application based on the per semester, as you just said. But if I need to get some like intervention in the classroom, which is going to be start in November, like when is the best time or appropriate time for me to apply for the CPT?
So as Sue said during the presentation, you can apply for CPT a semester before your CPT is supposed to start. So I don't think I really understand your question. When do you intend to do this CPT?
In November.
In November. Okay, that's a few weeks. So you can
So-
apply now.
Okay.
And this is going to be for this semester, right?
Yes, I think so.
So why are you applying so late? The semester's gonna end
Because
in December.
like the project I didn't like the PI just told me we're probably gonna need to do that because the classroom intervention, and basically we're now doing like the hybrid with the school district, and we're gonna do all the classroom observation and assessment online, which is remotely. But under that case, do we have to apply for the CPT if we're gonna do that through?
Yes, you would. And are you in EHE? Are you-
Yes.
Okay, so I handle all of those and they go through Nancy. So you would have to work something out with Nancy and she would forward those applications to me.
Okay.
Because it's pretty different from everyone else.
Okay. Thank you.
Next, there's a question that was typed in, and she asked, does autumn and spring count as a full academic year? So I'm not sure if you meant autumn 2020 and spring 2021, but that would count as a full academic year. For students who start in the summer, they would need to be enrolled for summer and the following autumn and spring to count for a full academic year. Is there any other questions?
Yes, I have 2 questions. One is a pretty quick one and the second might be a little bit longer. First one, does the company have to be e-verified?
No, they do not need to be verified for CPT.
Okay, and second question is related to the course of study. It was early in the slides that a student must be enrolled in a designated internship or independent study course that's specifically designed for CPT. Can you give an example? Because I'm not entirely sure how that can be accomplished. Because there are courses that we can take, but I'm not sure about this clause that course has to be designed specifically for CPT.
So the course doesn't have to be specifically designed for CPT, but it needs to be specifically designated for CPT. So certain students already within their major have internship or independent study courses that can be used to be designated as CPT. However, if that student doesn't have that within their major, they should talk with their academic advisor to see what course they can use. A lot of times for doctoral students, they typically use their dissertation research course to be designated as CPT, but ultimately, in terms of our office, we just need the academic advisor to sign off that this course will be used for the CPT related course, and then our office will check to make sure that the student is enrolled for this semester. And they keep that up while they're doing their CPT and during that semester. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. It answers my question. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Jennifer. I have a following question in terms of the CPT. Just let's say, for example, if we're going to start the classroom intervention in November, and so far, like, we're not sure how long it will go. So my question would be, how long I should apply for my CPT for? Like, it's like just to the end of the semester, or?
It should be until the end of the semester, or it could be until the end. Yes, end of semester option. Yeah. So you could use that date. So that keeps you covered in case the CPT ends earlier than expected. And if that happens, you would have to let us know so we can make that adjustments in CVIS.
Okay,
So,
got it.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Hi, excuse me, I have a question. Well, actually, two questions. So the first one is, how can I, like, what's not what's the difference between the OPT and the CPT, but like, how can I know that I will be needing one over the other? And my second question is, can I apply for this after I already graduate, or do I have to apply while I'm still enrolling courses? Thank you.
Sure. So CPT happens before you graduate. To be eligible for CPT, you have to be enrolled full-time for 2 semesters. To know if you can do CPT, you would have to work with your academic advisor. But first, you have to be eligible to do CPT. CPT applies before you graduate. OPT applies after graduation. For OPT, you apply with the government. For CPT, OIA will review your application and make the determination as to whether, we should approve you for CPT or not. But for OPT, the government will review your application and make that determination. So that's the difference between both of those.
Oh, okay. Yes, great. Thank you so much.
I have one question. Sorry, I'm late for this. I know we only can apply for 1 year full-time CPT. I'm just wondering whether that means that I can only apply for 2-year half-time CPT, or it didn't accumulate later for like half-time CPT.
So the full year of CPT, that impacts your OPT eligibility after you graduate. However, working part-time CPT, that does not impact your OPT eligibility. So you would be able to, hypothetically, to work part-time CPT for multiple semesters and not have that influence your OPT eligibility.
So the year didn't accumulate. I mean, so it doesn't matter how many years or how many semesters I work as a half-time CPT. So it won't influence the eligible of my OPT. Okay, cool. Thank you.
And a follow-up question on the last question. Could you remind me full, or I guess half-time CPT, that's 20 hours per week, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And so if I go full-time, which will be 40 hours a week generally, that will impact OPT. And
So full-time is going to be anything above 20 hours.
okay. And that will have some impact on OPT eligibility, you saying?
That's if you do full-time CPT for 12 months.
Oh, for 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that 12 months period would have to be cumulative, right? So it can be stretched over, the duration of study, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any more questions?
All right, well, if there's not any more questions, I and Jennifer will leave our emails in the chat, and feel free to just send us an email if you have any further questions.
Okay, I think there's a question in the chat. Okay, if the internship doesn't involve academic credits and is unpaid and is related to field of study, do I still need to apply for CPT? Or it depends on whether it is hands-on or observation? So, I mean, the basis for CPT is, it's strictly academic. So there has to be the academic credit part to it. So once, you're saying if the academic credit is not there, then that's not going to, you're not going to be able to use that for CPT. So that part of it, that academic basis has to be there, because CPT is an integral part of, your academic curriculum. So once the academic piece is not there, we wouldn't approve that for CPT.
A following question for that, Jennifer. But if the CPT is part of my GA duties or appointment, how would that count?
So the GA duties are academic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the academic piece to it.
But I don't need to register for like other academic credits, right? Or I have to?
So your CPT has to correlate with with a class you're taking. Okay,
Oh.
there has to be a correlation to a class, and there has to be an academic piece to it. So as long as you have that correlation, then whenever we review the application, if we need more information, we would reach out to you or your academic advisor to provide that information. But the academic basis, that's the most important piece of the CPT application.
Okay, I got you. And just for a little bit clarifying, like my previous question, even though I'm probably gonna just work online for like the school assessment and the teacher training, we will never like enter the school, but still I need the CPT for sure.
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if it's unpaid, so it doesn't matter, that doesn't count.
Okay, thank you.
One thing I do want to add to that is if an internship is remote, we'll need to know where the physical address of the employment will be. So that will include 2 addresses. So your employer's address and then where you're actually going to be completing that address if it's remote work. We'll need both of those.
Okay, any more questions?
So I have a question about like the 20-hour limit. And so is this separate from like on-campus employment or something? So like if I had a graduate associateship is like, which I already worked 20 hours for, then would I be able to work another 20 hours using my CPT on top of that?
Nope.
Unfortunately, no. So that would be, it's in total. So you would only, in your case, you would only be able to work for CPT, say during the semester breaks and during the vacation period. And then for other students, for example, if you're working 7 hours on campus, that would mean that you would only be able to work up to 13 hours for CPT during the academic year.
Got it. Okay. So if I already had my appointment for 20 hours, does that mean I wouldn't be able to do CPT this semester then?
No, unfortunately not.
What department are you? Some departments are kind of different.
Also EHE.
Okay, so that's the
Oh,
exception. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you guys have, EHE has that exception. So yeah, you would be able to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, your appointment's not gonna matter. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so what about, say, so Alberta wrote, what's about, say, for a medical student shadowing in the hospital, is that eligible for CPT? So going back to that tier system, it would depend. What I recommend doing is once you have a job offer or something like that available, to come talk to an immigration coordinator about it so we can determine whether or not it is for CPT. And if that is eligible for CPT, you would have to go and talk to your academic advisor on designating a course so that it can be counted as your CPT related course. So that would just depend. All right, any other questions?
Hi, I have one question if possible, and I'm sorry I just joined. I was coming from class, so I don't know if this has been asked already. But I'm applying for internships over the summer, and the question presents itself of, will I need a sponsorship either now or in the future? If it's an internship that I can use CPT for, I won't need any sponsorships. Then should my answer be no?
So CPT authorization is gonna cover you to be able to do that internship. So you wouldn't need sponsorship for that.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay, great. So like I said earlier, I will be leaving my email and the general OIA email in the chat. So if you do end up having any future questions, feel free to email us. And yeah. All right, thank you so much for coming today, and have a great rest of your day.
Bye.